Hello, everyone, and welcome. We will allow a few more moments for everyone to join, and we will begin shortly. All right, I think we can get started. So, hello, everyone, again, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Alex Faivusovich. I am the head of fraud risk here at Unit21. I'm a fraud prevention practitioner for the past 16 years, working on fraud strategies, fraud operations, analytics, designing fraud solutions. And I've been with Unit21 for the past 4 years. And I'm joined today by my good friend and our head of solution engineering, Connor Snodgrass. Connor, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Everybody, my name's Connor. I lead our pre-sales solutions engineering practice. So, hope to talk to a lot of you all if you do end up wanting to take a closer look at Unit 21. I've been here for about 5 years, just a little bit longer than Alex. I'm really excited about showing you our solutions for AML today.
Thank you so much, Connor. I see folks are still joining, a lot of familiar faces. So hello to all the existing customers of Unit21. Always great to have you here on our webinars. So today we're going to deep dive into how ML teams investigate and report money laundering with Unit21. This webinar will showcase the different products and features that we offer risk and compliance professionals when it comes to conducting their AML practices with their financial institutions. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. So this session is recorded and will be shared with the audience within 24 hours. We will hold a live Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and Connor and myself will do our best to answer all of your questions live. If we have a lot of questions and we don't get to everybody, then we will follow up with the email. Outside of that, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please scroll down to the bottom of the screen. There's a FAQ section with some helpful technical tips. And outside of that, I think we can get started. So let's start with some poll questions for you. So if you look at the right hand of the screen, there's a buttons named polls. If you click on it, you will be able to participate in a poll. So question number one is, how confident are you in your current transaction monitoring system's ability to detect money laundering activity? So I will allow you folks a couple of moments to select your answer. And question number two for you is, which one of the following AML processes do you find most time consuming? And finally, question number three is, how are you leveraging AI in your AML operations today? So please read through the questions and all the different answers and choose. Let's give folks a few moments. I see answers are coming in. All right, let's get over the answers. So, how confident are you in your current transaction monitoring system ability to detect money laundering activity? Very interesting. 52% of you say that they are somewhat confident, while 41 of you say they are very confident, and only 7% say they are not confident. For the second one, which of the following AML processes do you find most time consuming? By far, investigating alerts is at the top with 45%, while all of the above with 21. So AML is indeed a very time-consuming uh, process. And for the question number three, how are you leveraging AI in your AML operations today? Wow, 75% of you are not using AI in your AML practices. So I think you will be surprised and to see what me and Connor has to show you today. So thank you so much for answering those. We will get back to those results later during the webinar. But I think now we can move with our webinar. Okay, so let's start with why AML teams need better tools. And we build this slide based on several dozens of banks, credit unions, and fintech companies who work with us, and they use Unit21 for the AML needs. And we see that basically there is three major points in in needing the most advanced tools in the market for AML teams. So the first one is what we call change. So basically, complex laundering schemes evolve rapidly. We see teams that do need tools who can allow them to create the rules that they need and make sure that those rules generating a very high number of true positives. Also making sure that the workflow capabilities and the investigation tools for the investigators are very updated and really make sure that we are optimizing the efficiency of the investigator. Second part is the pressure. So pressure to act fast with precision. Um, I don't think that any one of us has in the past decade a year where they file less SARs than the previous year, or a year where they had less suspicious activity than the previous year. It only gets worse and worse and worse. It gets bigger. You need more people to handle the queues, more workload for you to work. So how do you do that? How do you react fast? How you make sure that your investigator is using one screen that enables them to really conduct that full investigation from start to end and then decide whether or not there is a need for filing of that activity. And then limitations. So obviously, traditional tools are slow. Some of you are still reviewing alerts the next business days. Some of you are reviewing alerts 2 business days after the transaction happens. So you're in a very reactive mode by default. Also, in many cases, not you don't have one system that generates all the information that you need. So maybe you have one solution for transaction monitoring and another solution that you will use for screening, and maybe you use a very different solution for filing or risk rating. So if you don't have everything under one screen, it's very slow and it's very reactive. For those of you who are not a Unit21 customer, or maybe even not familiar with Unit21, I will give you a high-level introduction of what Unit21 is. So basically, what you're seeing here is our end-to-end infrastructure. So how we ingest, analyze, detect, and act on risk signals all in one platform. The foundation of Unit21 starts with data ingestion. So we are very data agnostic. And we know that many financial institutions have different structures to how data is already existing in your current databases. So whether it's, you have third-party data, you have already device intelligence, maybe transactional activity, behavior signals, your KYC, KYB data, event logs, and all the other actions that the user takes in your system. We make it very simple to bring all that data in, whether through API ingestions, flat file ingestions, or via integrations with our partners. So I know that many of you using Core in order to process of your transactions. So how do we really connect with your cores to make sure that this ingestion of data goes really smoothly into Unit21. And then at the center of the screen, you see basically what Unit21 offers in terms of our risk and compliance capabilities, which include AI agents for automation of alerts and triaging, case management for investigations, transaction and real-time monitoring, device intelligence for behavior and fraud signals, customer risk ratings to measure entity level risk, watchlist screening for sanctions, and PEPs and fraud consortium for share intelligence with other members who participate in the consortium. The outputs of the operational work of in Unit21 is usually comes to direct filings, data analysis with our dashboards, and taking automated actions via on your backend via webhooks. So basically, how do you interact, how your backend interacts with Unit21, and what type of actions you can take. In terms of the product philosophy, so we are trying to develop new products or features. We always ask ourselves what the agent or the investigator, the analyst will gain from it, and how do we enable them to do their job better. And what you see on the screen is our pillars for product development. So control, explainability, agility, and outcome driven. So in terms of the control, there's no black boxes. Everything is explainable. Everything has audit logs that you can use and understand why certain things are alerted, why the alert is generated, what stands behind it, if there's a score associated with something, what contributed to that score. Explainability. So we call it a regulator-friendly, transparent environment. So with audit logs, you can actually show the regulators everything that happened during the investigation, who was the agent that took the action, why the case was escalated, who made the final decision, who made the filing. Everything is visible for you. So when you do need to work during the audits with your regulators, it's very easy to showcase the work that is done in the system. Agility. So from sandbox environment to shadow rules to A/B testing, you don't go, create a strategy or build a rule and just deploy it blindly to production. You have many ways to validate the strategy before you deploy certain rules into production, so you really feel comfortable that the rules are achieving what they want to achieve, and second of all, that the operational capacity will remain something that the team can actually handle. And outcome driven. So basically, we always try to see how we help you make the best decision in the shortest amount of time, reduce the false positives, and actually, catching the real threats, whether it's fraud or money laundering. In today's webinar, Connor will demonstrate 5 different tools and features that AML teams are using to fight money laundering and financial crime. So I will quickly go over all of those tools and features, and then we will start a demo where Connor will show us the different products, and I will be on the sideline asking thought-provoking questions about them. So what you will see today is our customer risk rating solution. You will see our watch list screening and transaction monitoring solution. We will showcase how we investigate with AI, so how alert can be investigated with an AI agent. You will see CTR and SAR direct filing, and at the very, very end, our newest and shiniest feature, AI rule recommendation. So, Connor, I will stop sharing my screen, and maybe you can start sharing yours, and we will move to the fun part of this webinar.
Wonderful. So let's dive right in,
And and
and
and
we're
here
gonna.
and yeah, and before we start here, I want to go back to the first poll question we had. So actually, how confident are you that your solution can detect money laundering? And I will go in deep dive and ask, how confident are you that your current risk rating model actually reflects customer true risk or true risk profile today. But go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think when we talk to a lot of AML teams, the general concern, I think, is not often, are we, detecting money laundering effectively? There are some cases where folks have gone through an audit and have some gaps, but most of the time the main concerns are around efficiency of the program, and just a lot of folks really drowning in the volume of work that it takes for them to get through all of the client reviews and alert investigations and audit preparedness that they go through to make sure that their program is running smoothly. Um, so I wanted to start here, kind of thinking through like the logical life cycle for a customer and how you start to monitor them. And all of that starts with customer risk rating. And so what we've built is a very flexible solution that allows you to build a weighted sum average model. It's very, very transparent and clear, how different inputs are going to impact the overall risk rating. So if we take a look right now, we have an even distribution of 20% across the board to new member risk, alert and case risk, CIP risk, address and suspicious activity risk. But we could adjust these weights and slide that around a bit. We could also add additional risk categories, incorporating custom data or risk from rule hits. And we differentiate that from alert case and SARS a little bit, because we do often have cases where you might not want an alert to trigger, or you might have cleared an alert, but still want the fact that it happened to elevate risk a little bit. And if we incorporate, custom data risk, we could include something like KYC data, if that's something that you're collecting about customers. And this could be, KYC information, risk scoring, or it could be something like the source of funds for a particular customer. Anything that you collect and know about your customers, we can add in here and say, okay, for folks who their primary source of funds is going to be, from salary, maybe that's a relatively low risk profile. And then we can build in different scores associated with different values. Um, and all of this is going to produce, and you can see here, the specific values associated with each thing. All of this is then going to produce a 0 to 100 score for each customer. And you can test your model against sample populations to see, what the breakdown would look like. And then you can also adjust, what ranges low, medium, and high risk tiers should correspond to. So really, really easy to use, easy to set up. There's defaults built into the system. And then, if and when you want to add more complexity to it, you always have that ability to come in and add more detail. Now, the next thing that this feeds into is, and we're going to start getting into monitoring, is our enhanced due diligence rule to set up a workflow for EDD. So, based on those high, medium, and low risk tiers, you have the ability to schedule the frequency of your EDD reviews. And then, if you want to be even more granular than that, you can even filter beyond just those tiers and select specific groups, whether that's hey, maybe customers that are PEPs need to be reviewed every 3 months, but high risk customers only every 6 months. And so we give you that level of granular control to decide how frequently you want to schedule those reviews. And then in our alert and case management system, you can set up corresponding queues, AI agents, workflows, so that your team has a really efficient, dedicated process for completing those due diligence reviews. Next up in screening or in monitoring, we have our watch list rule. And this is something that we've added somewhat recently to kind of round out the complete suite of solutions for AML customers. Incorporating this rule in particular is ongoing monitoring, but we do also offer onboarding and transaction screening as well. And with this, you can set up rules, again, configurable to target specific segments of your customer base if you might need to apply different thresholds. For example, if you did want to, look at customers based on, their risk level and say, for example, we want to take a look at our high risk customers. And maybe this match threshold, we want to adjust to be a little bit more sensitive for that segment of customers. We're going to get alerts more frequently, but that's the type of thing we can do. This works for sanctions, adverse media, and PEP screening. And you even have the configurability to be particular about the lists that you screen against. By default, if you don't go in and configure this, we'll just be looking at everything.
So basically, showing us here is a complete, risk picture of how a certain individual is transacting with us. So from the, ongoing transaction monitoring, the traditional rules that we set up for AML, the risk rating that adjusts with the way, the customer behavior is changing. And now we can also see the watch list and whether or not they are peer or on any sanctions list, really give us the full picture of risk with associated the team.
Absolutely. And that great transition into thinking about our transaction monitoring solution. Now, I pulled up really, really basic scenario here where we might want to generate alerts for large purchases with high risk merchants. And we've built that by defining high risk merchants using MCC codes, and we're doing some fuzzy matching. So this is looking at ranges of MCC codes, and we're looking for a transaction over $3,000. But again, as we're thinking about, giving kind of control and specificity to your teams, we could be more particular about these types of transactions, or we could implement a risk-based element where we're looking at the risk level, or we're looking at their income level, or we're looking at some other behavior to make this more specific and ultimately reduce the number of false positives that we generate. So that's kind of a very, very high level view of monitoring. It gets so much deeper than that. But with the limited amount of time we've got today, wanted to take the next step and chat a little bit about kind of where we're adding value, particularly with our new AI agents in the investigations flow. So once we've set up customer risk rating and your monitoring program, alerts will start generating, and we've built AI agents to assist in your investigations. These have been tremendously effective at helping our customers. We have over 150,000 alerts reviewed so far across more than 100 customers. And the results have been pretty startling. On average, we're seeing reductions in average handle time in the like 70 to 80% range. So it is really freeing up an enormous amount of time for our customers to focus on the investigations that are most important to them, rather than spending lots of time doing manual data collection and building justifications for obvious false positives.
Going
And the
back to
way
our second poll question, 46% of you answered that investigating alerts is the most time-consuming process in your AML practices. So here's a very valid answer to why AI agent can help you.
Absolutely. And that answer does not, really shock anybody in this room. I'm imagining it's been the case for years and years. And that's why this is the place that we invested in LLMs early, because we knew that this was a place where we could have a really, really big impact on teams' workflows. So the way that we've built this, in part to be explainable and justifiable to regulators, is that we've broken down these AI agents into these discrete tasks that we have trained on 6+ years worth of historical data, so that we can ensure that they're going to produce accurate results. And it's very, very explainable, because instead of asking a general question and getting a big, huge response, we can review the results of each of these individually. You can also, for different workflows, choose which of these tasks are relevant for a particular type of investigation. So, for example, for our kind of basic AML alert review, check fraud, check image analysis is not particularly relevant. And we're not reviewing any 314A or sanctions matches. So I'm not including these. But we are looking at adverse media. We are looking to see, if there's behavior deviation or counterparty risk or signs of structuring. We are looking at account risk signals. And we can even customize these tasks for our customers. So if there are particular steps in your process that you want to automate with the AI agent, we can configure that for you. And you also have the ability to give this, essentially a prompt for how you want narratives to be drafted. And the AI agent can take all of that information that it's compiling and help to draft a narrative. And what that looks like as your team is looking at alerts is all of those tasks we just looked at are going to be broken down in this Unit21 AI page, where you can see all of the findings. You can even click in here to see more detailed findings if you want additional information. It's going to look at the event analysis, finding impossible travel patterns, a pretty significant decrease in transaction volume, finding some online adverse media. And then it's compiled all of this into a thoughtful narrative that is editable. So your team can still come in, make any changes that they need to, before adding this to the record. But again, really just trying to take a lot of the more routine manual tasks that analysts face on a day-to-day basis off of your plate, so you can focus on kind of higher level analysis and investigations.
We have a question from Joe, who's basically asking if we have it on our product roadmap or in general appetite to allow AI agents to automatically aggregate and assign alerts to existing or new cases. So not only conduct the review, but actually take actions and escalate.
Yeah, definitely something that we're investing in. We had a kind of early version of that launch this week internally, not quite ready for this webinar. Um, but part of the idea is to take the outputs of these discrete tasks and set up conditions under which the AI agent can auto escalate or auto resolve an alert based on these outputs. So, again, it's very, very explainable to regulators how and why an AI agent came to a particular determination, as well as providing a confidence score and then also allowing you to QA those alerts after the fact as part of QA QC random sampling, so that you can justify to regulators how you're leveraging this technology in your AML program. And then we had another question um, pertaining to rule creation. Is the value scale consistent between scenario, dynamic, and real time rules? What is the value range? Um, I'm not entirely sure I understand the root of the question, but if you're talking about like an amount value, all of those would be consistent regardless of whether we're talking about a dynamic scenario or real time rules.
Yeah, but I would say most of our users lean towards using the dynamic model builder just because it's such a powerful tool. For simple use cases, sometimes it's easier just to deploy a pre-built scenario. And for real-time rules, it's really for the most advanced companies who look to introduce real-time friction. So definitely on a lower scale compared to dynamic and scenario. But we see great adoption there as well.
And Elisabetta, yes, that is a plan for us to be able to enable our customers to write their own tasks for the AI agent. All right. One
That's it.
other thing that I wanted to call out, I'm not going to go into everything in kind of alerts management today, um, but did want to show another thing that has come out recently that's been very, very well received, called "Why Did This Flag?" And essentially, this is a resource that explains the specific conditions that resulted in an alert being generated, just so that your analyst very transparently understands, okay, this customer had 18 deposits during the course of a month that met that condition. The sum of transactions was this on the one side. We had let's see, 5,800 roughly in withdrawals and 5,400 in deposits, and that's why this particular alert fired. So it's always going to be very, very transparent when you're doing a review.
And I love how this
Now,
one screen really showcases our product philosophy of, control, explainability, agility, and outcome-driven solutions. Is that, the analysts don't have second guess why it's alerting, why am I seeing this? It's all very clear, black and white on the screen.
absolutely. Um, so from here, once we complete an investigation and your team goes through, the checklist of review tasks that you want them to go through after the AI agent has completed its review, Just as you always could, you can interact with this. Maybe we want to create a case here, and we can go ahead and add this to a new case, assign it to myself. And this will, mark this. I could specify, why we're doing this, add some notes, and create our case. From there, we can complete this investigation. That might, include additional reviews, transaction analysis, network analysis. But ultimately, if we decide to go ahead and file, we can automatically generate a SAR and then complete it in Unit 21. And I'm going to pull up one that's already been submitted for review, but we can take a look at this and see that all of our subject information is populated. Everything, comes in and gets pulled out of entity records, alert and case records, so that all of the subject and suspicious activity information comes in automatically, and you don't have to spend a lot of your time transposing things over. And then once it's ready for review, you can do a quick check. The system will point out anywhere that you have missing or misformatted information. So if entity records are, missing something here, it'll prompt you to complete the form before you can file. And then once it's been completed, you can submit it for review. It'll have both a maker and a reviewer, and so you can get that 4-eye review on before submitting this, either individually, or once they're completed. If you just want to come in as a BSA officer and bulk file things that have been previously reviewed, we can handle that as well. And we can also do the same thing for CTRs. So when alerts are generated for cache activity, you can actually just bulk create CTRs from those alerts. Same thing, will automatically populate everything into the form, and you can bulk file those directly to FinCEN. All right. And then the last and potentially most exciting thing we have to show you today are AI rule recommendations. So this is another thing that we're very, very excited about. With this comprehensive AML platform, we have a lot of data from how you and your team complete investigations. And previously, a lot of the analysis of rule performance was somewhat manual. And so our team or customers' teams would look at poorly performing rules and try to understand why so many false positives were being generated and what we could do to make rules more efficient. And recently, we launched AI rule recommendations, which are evaluating all of your alert dispositions, and categorizing them either, kind of as, generally speaking, false positives or true positives. A little bit more broad than that, but thinking, hey, this wasn't worth reviewing, or this, some were, and making recommendations on ways that you can enhance existing rules to make them more efficient and more effective. And so we're actually looking at the same rule that I demoed earlier. And keep in mind that this is a demo environment and probably not as realistic as your own. But even based on ours, there are a couple of things that it's recommending to do. It's recommending to create some variable thresholds for customers based on their income level, so that we can make this a little bit more, appropriate for different types of customers. And it's explaining its justification based on the alerts that we've dispositioned. Second thing, looking at transaction statuses. So recommending that we exclude transactions that have been reversed. And lastly, incorporating some PEP and customer risk rating components into this. So really, really excited about what this is going to do. The next thing that's coming out is this is actually uh, going to turn into a system where the AI can write a rule for you. And then you can go kind of immediately from recommendation to written rule and into validating and testing to ensure that it is producing the results that you expect. But we're really excited about the potential for this to help our customers kind of start with the basic rule structures that we've all known for a long, long time, and be able to analyze their own results and create that feedback loop with their monitoring program, to make it more efficient and effective, and kind of tailored to your institution's risk profile over time.
Yeah, and I'm personally really excited about this feature. I mean, I know that all of our audience are dealing with large sets of rules, and rule tuning is by far something that nobody likes to do. It consuming. You sometimes have the data to make a decision. Sometimes you trust your gut instincts. And while changing all of those rules, you still need to keep in mind that, hey, I still make sure that I'm compliant and I'm actually detecting everything that the regulator expects me to detect. This is to me is a real game changer.
Awesome. Well, um, any questions from the audience? That's the conclusion of our demo for today. So we'd love to field any more questions that you have. Otherwise, thank you very, very much for joining us today. Hopefully, you liked what you saw, and we'll chat with you all soon.